This is Matt Hurt at Obsessive Viewer on Twitter.
This is Tiny at Obsessive Tiny on Letterboxd.
This is Ben Sears at Ben Sears on Letterboxd.
And this is ObsessiveViewer.com's The Obsessive Viewer Podcast. Hello and welcome to The Obsessive Viewer. We're a movie and TV podcast that covers a specific topic, be it genre, trope, movie, or show each episode. You can find more of our work at ObsessiveViewer.com. You can also like us on Facebook and join the Facebook group at facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer. And you can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/ObsessiveViewer, in which if you pledge $1 per month, you get access to a full 120 some odd currently episodes of just B-roll bullshit stuff that we talk about before each episode. I put a clip of each one of those, or I put a clip of from that feed at the end of each episode of the podcast. And if you pledge $2 on Patreon, you get access to that, plus TV reviews that I do on a, so far, weekly basis. I recently reviewed the entire series of Superstore, and I did weekly reviews of Falcon and the Winter Soldier, and I will be doing a weekly review of Loki when it airs. And coming up this week, I'll have a review of Season 1 of Rutherford Falls on Peacock, so a lot of stuff there. And then also, if you pledge $5 per month, you get access to all of that, plus commentary tracks that I do semi-weekly. I recently did a commentary track for Sunshine, Dr. Sleep, The Shining. Coming up, I've got Captain America's Civil War and Children of Men and another one. I also did one for Seven, so a lot of stuff there. And then if you pledge $10 per month, you get access to all of that, plus early access to episodes before they're released as a special kind of treat for people who listen to Anthology. If you pledge $10 on Patreon, on May 21st, you will have access to my entire 7-episode bonus episode review series of the new Amazon Prime science fiction anthology show Solos, which is coming out May 21st. So the day that show airs, if you pledge $10 on Patreon, you will have access to all 7 of those bonus episodes all at once. And then the main feed on Anthology will have that released weekly. So anyway, all of that's at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. I've been really hitting the pavement to just pump out a bunch of content on Patreon, and I love doing it. And if you guys pledged on Patreon, all that money goes toward paying the fees to keep all of the podcasts up and running, and is incredibly appreciated. Again, that's at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. And my sales pitch is gone now. I'm done. I'm your aforementioned host, Matt Hurt, and with me today is Tiny and the aforementioned Ben, recurring co-host and contributing reviewer for ObsessiveViewer.com. Tiny and Ben, how are you guys doing without your headphones?
Sup.
Okay.
Good. Sorry, I can't hear you. I have my headphones on.
So how's it going? Good. Nice.
Wonderful.
Nice. We are farmers. I got nothing. So are you guys excited to talk about some Ebert's great movies?
I am.
Nice. And we do have some business to attend to. Before or in between our last recording, the Academy Awards happened.
Yeah.
I did not watch them.
Nope.
Tiny did not watch them. Ben, did you watch them?
Of course I did.
Nice. I'm so glad that you said that. How did you feel about the whole presentation and Soderbergh's work?
I feel like I'm in the minority of people who actually liked the show.
Interesting.
I heard a lot of blowback from people who just outright hated it. Mm-hmm. And have you guys heard or seen any clips or anything about it, or how it worked?
Honestly, I have not seen a single clip, and it's not. I mean, it's something that I woke up the next morning thinking like I probably should have watched it, like just as a piece of history, and also the job that I have is at a hobby level, but but also I don't know. I just was not feeling it, and I was the only like reaction I had. Like, I mean, I was happy with the winners. Like, Nomadland won Best Picture, and Promising Young Woman got Best Original Screenplay, and Chloe Zhao got Best Director.
Yes.
Well, like those are good ones. I haven't seen The Father, but I was really I was surprised, just as everyone was, that Anthony Hopkins got Best Actor. But yeah, Pizza, I swear to God.
She must be part of the show.
She's got thoughts on the Oscars too.
Yeah. When I recorded my first bonus review for Solos, no, this was when an upcoming episode of Anthology, I was recording it, and there was a cat on the balcony, and Pizza was going crazy. So there's a part in episode 72 of Anthology where I have to stop what I'm doing and open the blinds, pause the recording, and just mercilessly beat Pizza. Not really. I would never do that. But yeah, it was terrible. Anyway, what were we talking about? The Oscars, Ben? How'd you feel about the results and everything?
Yeah.
And the presentation?
I mean, we could dedicate an entire episode to how I felt about the Oscars and how it worked out. I mean, if you guys want to just leave this recording and just go and run an errand or something, I could just rant for a while, and you can come back and we can get
or I
back
can mercilessly beat my cat.
But yeah, I think really the only it's incredible that Chloe Zhao won Best Director, Nomadland won Best Picture. I mean, there were so many firsts for her and for just different groups that have not been represented or won very much at the Oscars. Daniel Kaluuya got his first Oscar.
Yeah.
Which was great. But I mean, obviously the biggest thing that people have latched onto is Chadwick Boseman not winning, and just how that all went down. Did you guys hear anything about how the end of the night went?
Yeah, the way I understand it is that they, for some reason, decided to announce the Best Picture before Best Actor? Was it just before just Best Actor, or before the acting categories?
So it was the third to last, and then after Best Picture it was Best Actress, then Best Actor. They saved Actor for last.
Huh. That's weird.
Which which never happens.
Right.
Best Picture is always last for a reason, and
so they can fuck it up and say that a different movie got it instead of Moonlight.
Right.
Right. Yeah.
Anyway,
so everyone else has said this already, so it's not really a hot take or anything, but the only reason that I could think of why they would do that is because they figured it was such a sure bet that Chadwick Boseman was going to win.
Yeah.
And they wanted to end on that emotional high note, which if you're trying to sell a TV show, I don't blame them on that. I mean, Best Picture was pretty much wrapped up long before the Oscars, so I can't fault them there too much, I guess. I mean, it still was pretty weird, but I know a lot of people were upset and borderline angry almost about Boseman not winning.
Right.
But I mean, if you're a Oscar nerd like I am, then it wasn't such a huge shock. I mean, Anthony Hopkins won the BAFTA for Best Actor. Plus, there were just a whole bunch of other factors, including like Ma Rainey not getting a Best Picture win.
Yeah, it did get Best Costuming, right?
Yes,
that was cool.
So, yeah, it just all pretty much boiled down to just low enthusiasm for Ma Rainey overall, I think. But yeah, I was also feeling kind of down about Chadwick Boseman not winning, and it would have been great, but I heard on a different podcast, I forget which one exactly, but the other actor that had lost a posthumous Best Actor nomination twice was James Dean.
Oh,
So,
interesting.
Yeah.
I didn't know that.
Wow. Yeah, because I only knew of the wins of Heath Ledger and the guy from Network.
Peter Finch.
Right.
I think there have
that's
been more
interesting.
people that have been nominated. I couldn't tell you who, though. But
okay.
yeah, James Dean nominated twice and lost both times. So
Wow.
if people want to, I mean, it would have been great to say Chadwick Boseman an Oscar winner, but it's not, the end all be all.
That's true. And what I kind of keep coming back to is that performance, like extenuating circumstances of his tragic death, like regardless of that, like that performance, I feel was completely Oscar caliber.
Right.
Tiny, did you ever see Ma Rainey's
I
Black
haven't
Bottom?
seen it yet.
Okay, it's
My wife
it's
is
good.
not interested in it, which boggles my mind. But so we haven't watched it.
Yeah.
Yeah. The movie itself is okay.
Okay.
But yes, the performances are incredible.
Yeah.
Nice.
There was also discussion about, or like theories abound, that the other reason that they were wanting to do Best Actor last is because they figured that whoever, I don't know if this is just a cynical like Twitter reaction or if this is like a legitimate theory, but they wanted to end the night on an award that no one was there to actually give a speech to kind of wrap it up quick, I guess.
Yeah, because Anthony Hopkins was not there.
Right.
He wasn't at one of their satellite places.
And they wouldn't let him do a Zoom one.
And so the ceremony just ends, and it's not only do you have the shock of Chadwick Boseman not winning, but you have nobody there to give the last speech of the night, which just felt so weird and abrupt and just felt like a wet fart almost. Just, yeah.
How was the music? Because they didn't have like an orchestra. Was it
right?
How did they do the music on that?
They did not do the best song performances like they normally do.
Okay.
That was
I wasn't even talking about that. I was just talking about like the orchestra in the pit.
So Questlove was the DJ.
That's right.
But nobody got played off when their speeches went long, which was kind of cool.
Nice.
And yeah, I didn't mind the show overall.
Okay.
Yeah.
Interesting. Okay.
There were things that I didn't like about it and things that I understand that people didn't like, but I didn't mind it.
Okay. Well, maybe I'll watch it next year. I don't know. I don't know. I think it's just an extension of 2020 and everything. I just had so little interest in actually watching it. Like when it actually came about, I was just like, I don't really feel like it.
Me too. It was so off my radar.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. But speaking of Chloe Zhao, I guess, I did want to touch on this, and then we can get into the Ebert's Great Movie stuff. But Marvel released a video that kind of just outlined a lot of release dates for their Phase 4 movies. So to run
only Phase 4 now?
Yeah.
Huh.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
So to run them down, we've got Spider-Man No Way Home coming out December 17th, 2021. Doctor Strange in the Multiverse of Madness, March 25th, 2022. Thor, Love and Thunder, May 6th, 2022. Jesus. Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, July 8th, 2022. The Marvels, November 11th, 2022. Ant-Man and the Wasp, Quantumania, February 17th, 2023. And Guardians of the Galaxy Volume 3, May 5th, 2023. And and then to read from the Mashable article I have popped up, finally, the featurette ended by flashing a blue logo, which is a cryptic tease at the MCU's take on the Fantastic Four. So did you guys watch this video?
I did.
Yes.
What did you guys think about it? How did you guys feel?
It was really cool. I mean, just honestly, it was all the stuff before that.
Oh, yeah.
All the stuff that we've already seen, all the like the conglomerate or the compilation, I guess, of stuff from all the Avengers movies and everything. And did you mention the Eternals in there?
Oh, that wasn't on the list.
Yeah.
Yeah, the Eternals is obviously...
Black Widow's happening first.
In Black Widow.
July.
Right.
And then Shang-Chi.
Oh, Shang-Chi, yeah. I didn't read the whole article. Shang-Chi is in September, I think. Black Widow is July. And Eternals, I think, is still in November.
Okay, yeah. I thought it was this year, but I couldn't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah, so just this year, there's exciting stuff coming up.
Yeah, I did not know that the next Spider-Man was coming out this year.
Oh, you didn't?
No.
Okay.
I mean, I knew it was coming out soon, but not this year.
They had a really good or really charming title unveil video. That was really, really good. It was Zendaya, Tom Holland, and the guy that plays, what's his name? The friend coming out of like the office. It was really good. It was cute.
Nice. Yeah, it was a fun little video. Did they just kind of post that randomly? I mean,
yeah, my thinking is it's a Disney company, so I feel like maybe they just released that on May the 3rd to I don't know, as a like, because everything is Star Wars today, May the 4th. So
right.
Yeah. I don't know. Yeah, I don't know the rhyme or reason of it.
Gotcha.
Of that list, what are you guys most looking forward to?
That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Probably the Eternals.
Nice.
Yeah.
Just because of the cast.
And they barely showed anything from that, so
Yeah.
it's still a pretty big mystery.
Right.
Yeah, I would say probably I don't know. I'm looking forward to all of them, honestly. Shang-Chi I'm very curious about.
Yeah.
I'm excited for all of the ones that are coming out next year. Like the next Thor movie.
Yeah.
Should be great.
Doctor Strange.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
The next Black Panther. Really excited for that.
I'm very curious how that's going to go down.
Right. I'm curious what they're going to do.
Yeah. It reminds me that I saw this fucking obnoxious tweet. Like a few days, like within 3 days of Chadwick Boseman dying, some guy tweeted like directly at Letitia Wright, and like the tweet was some like fucking completely out of touch thing, like, hey, I hope you're prepared to take up the mantle of Black Panther, because Shuri is definitely going to be the one that's going to be Black Panther. And I'm like,
wow,
okay, yeah, so go ahead and just send a message on the internet to someone who just lost a friend, tragically, a friend and coworker, and talk about the magic superhero universe that they're in. Yeah,
talk about work.
Yep. People are so fucking out of touch.
The internet's a bummer sometimes.
Yeah, it sure is.
Yeah.
But what's not a bummer sometimes is the Roger Ebert's Great Movies list.
Oh, yeah, we should get to that.
Yeah.
Or is it?
or is it? Yes. So
wink, wink.
Yes. So today on the podcast, we are going to be covering 3 movies. This is part 8 of our Ebert's Great Movies list review series. That this is the first time that we are having that we're bringing in a third one, a third person in on it, because it's usually me and Ben.
Hello.
So this is the fabled Matt and Ben 3-way.
Glad I could join you
from Patreon.
God.
Well, we're happy to have you, even if you guys aren't wearing headphones. I'm going to keep being passive-aggressive about that and not call attention to why I'm, like, what it means to the listener. So, anyway, so I'm going to play the jingle that only I'm going to be able to hear for the Ebert's. I'm so sorry. For the Ebert's Great Movies list review, so here we go.
No name is more synonymous with film criticism than Roger Ebert's.
Even now, my voice is reaching millions throughout the world. Millions of despairing men, women, and children.
People say, do film critics have too much power?
For those who can hear me, I say, do not despair.
We can help a movie. We can help a movie by sharing our enthusiasm. we can't necessarily hurt a movie that is destined to be a big hit anyway.
You, the people, have the power to make this life free and beautiful, to make this life a wonderful adventure.
And then Roger Ebert gets up.
What I find very offensive and condescending about your statement is nobody would say to a bunch of white filmmakers, how could you do this to your people?
Democracy! Let us all unite!
This movie goes through some pretty predictable...
All right, so the Ebert's Great Movies List review, the concept is that each edition of this review series, Ben and I and Tiny, for as many as he wants to be on, we each select a single movie from Roger Ebert's Great Movies List and review/discuss them in a special series of podcast episodes. And the quote by Mr. Ebert himself, that's in relation to his great movies essays is, quote, "One of the gifts a movie lover can give another is the title of a wonderful film they have not yet discovered. Here are more than 300 reconsiderations and appreciations of movies from the distant past to the recent past, all of movies that I consider worthy of being called great." And Tiny, this was your first time actually hearing the little interstitial thing. So how did you feel about the 20 or so seconds of it that you heard?
Very inspirational,
Nice.
as he always was.
No, we're not. We're good.
Okay.
Yeah.
We're good.
Because I can hear it in my headphones. So just saying. Professional equipment. Anyway, so...
I've derailed what you guys were talking about.
Oh, that's fine. But yeah, just that was just something I slapped together. The music is from the trailer for the last movie that Ebert reviewed, which was a Terrence Malick movie. I can't remember what the title was. Everybody Walks? Is that a Terrence Malick movie?
I don't know. I'm not a Terry Malick fan.
Okay.
Couldn't tell you.
Yeah. I'm gonna look it up. So anyway, on this edition, we are doing triple duty, and we are going to be talking about The Circus and Paths of Glory and The Searchers. And I'm stalling here because I can't find... screw it. No one... I don't know what the song was from. So as we do on these episodes, we go chronologically. So in the last edition of this review series, I selected The Circus, Ben selected The Searchers, and Tiny selected Paths of Glory. And so since The Circus was released in 1928, we will begin with The Circus, if you guys don't mind.
Sure. Yep.
Yeah, so I'm going to go ahead and read a plot summary of The Circus, courtesy of its Letterboxd posting. So, like I said, The Circus came out in 1928, directed by Charlie Chaplin. Charlie, a wandering tramp, becomes a circus handyman, soon the star of the show, and falls in love with the circus owner's stepdaughter. So the reason that I picked this movie was because I knew that we were going to be doing 3 reviews, and I wanted to choose one of the shortest movies that I could find on the list. And this clocked in at a nice brisk 72 minutes that I finished watching. I finished watching it about 10 minutes after you guys arrived to record.
Right. Yep.
So that's something. But more importantly, I really wanted to see it because one of my kind of blind spots is Charlie Chaplin. And I was telling Ben before Tiny got here and before we started recording that this was only my 3rd Charlie Chaplin movie, ever. And to put that into context, I count The Great Dictator as one of my top 25 favorite movies of all time.
Wow.
It is that powerful and incredible. And Tiny, you would have heard this because it is in the last 20 seconds of it. But the dialogue from The Great Dictator can be found in that.
I thought that's what that was.
Yeah, and I mean that speech, I've said it before many times on the podcast, that speech is one of the greatest moments in film history that I've ever seen. Just incredible. Ben, you've seen The Great Dictator.
I have not.
Oh, you haven't? Okay.
Yeah, I definitely need to get to it soon.
Very interesting.
Yeah, me too.
Okay, nice. I recommend it, obviously.
Yeah, this movie kind of piqued my interest.
Yeah. So, having said that, Tiny, you confided to me that this was your first, not only your first Charlie Chaplin, but your first film from the silent era.
Yeah.
Is that right? Nice.
Yeah, it is.
How did you feel about the silent film experience?
I was a little hesitant going in, just because of it's almost 100 years old. I've never seen a movie that old, and the whole silent thing, I was just concerned that it was going to be so out of left field that I wasn't going to be able to enjoy it. But I'm happy to report that I actually really enjoyed it a lot. It was just a really cool experience. The only other silent movie I've seen is The Artist.
Oh, yeah, that's right.
I was going to ask about that.
That was it. But, obviously it wasn't from the silent era.
Right.
It was more of a gimmick than anything, I think. The whole silent thing, which I like that movie fine. It was a little overrated, I think. But yeah, so The Circus was the true first silent movie I've seen from the silent era, and the first Charlie Chaplin movie I've ever seen. So, I'm really excited you picked it, because I'm glad you picked it, because it was a really cool experience, and like I said, it piqued my interest. I definitely want to see The Great Dictator, which is not a silent movie.
No.
Right.
No.
But some of his other, I'd be curious to see some of his other ones. Gold Rush, I think, is a big one. And,
Yes.
Yeah.
Modern
Big fan of that one.
Times.
Really? Okay. Modern Times.
A bunch of other movies that he made.
City Lights.
City Lights is really good.
City Lights is probably my favorite of his.
Nice.
Sweet. Cool.
Yeah, cool.
I was really happy, or I was glad with the fact that the comedy held up. Even though it's 100 years old and there's no talking, I was really concerned. It was is it actually going to be funny? And I found myself laughing out loud several times. So.
Nice.
Yeah.
The kind of bit that I want to do is just it was a really good movie. Just whenever their lips were moving, I couldn't hear a fucking thing they were saying. And then they had these interrupting pictures of just words. I'm like, I'm not going to read. If I wanted to read, I would watch a book. So that's really dumb. Ben, how did you feel about The Circus?
I have seen a couple other Chaplin movies. I've seen The Gold Rush and Modern Times and City Lights and this. And
is Modern Times a silent movie?
Yes.
Okay.
Although there's one or two lines of dialogue, but it's silent. And this one fits right in with the rest of them. I mean, it's got everything else that the rest of those movies have.
Nice.
So I enjoyed it. I like all of those movies, and I like this one.
Nice. One of the things that always strikes me about Charlie Chaplin and this particular era of film is that, like Tiny said, the humor does hold up, and that just the choreography and the kind of all the pieces that come together and the physicality of the performance is just it's incredible. And I don't know if that's because that's where all of our attention is just routed into because it's a silent film. I don't know how much of that is that and how much of that is just meticulous choreography and incredible setups and payoffs to physical bits and everything. So I don't know where it lands on that kind of spectrum or anything, but that finale, we won't really spoil anything. I don't think we really need to do a spoiler section, but kind of the big circus set piece at the end of the movie is really thrilling, and it escalates beautifully. And it's kind of all of the things that you would expect from a kind of comedic silent film, in terms of just escalating everything. And the other thing that really struck me about this viewing of this particular this particular silent film is something that I honed in on was how much it really amplifies how much the music that's used in the movie dictates great dictators dictates how it puts more emphasis on the music to kind of have this rush of what's the word I'm looking for? Propulsive energy for the plot, and the energy of the movie is contingent on music and the pictures that are moving on screen. So anyway, how did you guys feel about those aspects of the movie and the choreography and the music?
To go along with that point, I think if I remember right, I think Chaplin composed some of the music for his own movies too.
Yeah.
I don't know if he did for this one, but
He did it later in life.
Okay.
Yeah, a quick look on Wikipedia said that 1928, the music was done by Max someone, but there is a version with music that he did in 1967, I think, that Chaplin did the music for. So I'd be curious to see that version.
He did that with a lot of his movies later in life. I think he wrote music for them, and then when they would re-release them, they'd use the music, from my understanding anyways. Yeah.
Brief side tangent on that. Have either of you guys seen, I haven't seen it, but have either of you guys seen the Chaplin biopic where RDJ, Robert Downey Jr., plays Chaplin?
no, it's on my list because it's on one of the streaming services.
I think I saw it on HBO, and it might not be on there anymore, but it definitely piqued my interest.
Yeah, I am interested in that one.
Me too. Yeah.
Yeah. Part of the reason why I haven't watched it is I kind of want to get more Chaplin titles under my belt before I kind of dive into a full-on biopic, but I'm curious. I'm definitely curious. I mean, he was obviously a very talented man, and I'm very interested in that. Ben, you've seen more from the silent era than me and Tiny combined. But how do you feel Chaplin stacks up amongst his contemporaries of the time, like Harold Lloyd, Buster Keaton?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I've only seen one other Buster Keaton movie, and I have not seen any Harold Lloyd movies. But I mean, the Tramp is just such an iconic character in movie history. So I have always loved Chaplin's movies and just the physicality that he brings to it, and just so much about the Tramp just as soon as you see him, that it's just such a smartly written character,
Right.
Yeah.
just from the way he looks even.
I feel like the physicality is so apparent too. Like I feel like he, after a scene, he just has to be exhausted because he's so emotive and he's constantly moving around because it's a strictly visual medium,
Yes.
And I think that his performance and the performance of all the actors really it commands your attention in a different way that modern film doesn't, or talkies don't.
Yeah.
And that's one of the strengths of silent movies that I, at least having only seen one, I can't really be an authority on the subject, but that was my experience with this.
You're a white man on a podcast. You have all the authority to talk about it.
Nice. But yeah, that's the experience I had with this. It really commanded my attention. Like I watched it on my phone.
Nice.
I watched the whole thing on my phone, which I watch a lot of stuff on my phone. And I in the past I would totally pan that. I would say that's a bad idea. You shouldn't do that. But it's become a regular thing for me, and I don't feel like I've lost anything with this movie. I feel like I didn't lose anything in the experience by watching it that way. It's just the physicality of it and the presence. I guess the visual presence is really striking.
Yeah.
In this movie and I assume other silent movies.
There is, if you want to get into Buster Keaton, he has at least one, maybe two movies on this list. One is called The General, which I have seen, which is, I mean, he is just such an incredible physical comedian as well. Like there's one bit where he's on a real locomotive and he's on the, I don't even know what it's called, the arm that connects the wheels, he's sitting on that while the train is going, and it just goes up and down and up and down, and I think there's even one point where he's on the front, like the cow catcher or whatever of the train as it's going like full speed.
Jeez.
And it's insane.
I remember seeing like a video of how they did that. I guess they like reversed the film or something. They did something wacky with it, but
right.
Yeah.
There's even like, I'm sure you guys have seen imitations of this where like he's standing like in a window frame or something, and then the front of a house falls down.
Yes,
and
iconic.
It goes through. That's a Buster Keaton thing.
Okay.
So
I didn't know that.
yeah. He's got a couple movies that are on streaming. So if you're interested, check them out.
One of my favorite pieces of trivia about Arrested Development is that they mimicked that house wall falling on and going through the window. And that it's such a nice like piece of meta referencing, because the character that happens to in Arrested Development is Buster Bluth, and it's like the second time that a Buster has gone through a window like that in that same way.
It's funny.
Nice.
It's a lot of fun.
Another thing that stood out to me is the just the practicality of filming a movie in 1927, 28. Which sort of speaks to what you were just saying, Ben. There's a part in the movie where he's in a cage with a lion.
Yes.
And, in 1928, there's no kind of special effects. And really, like, I'm assuming in the 20s, the magic of filming films didn't exist yet. Like there was no standard, like, okay, we're going to do, like, there was no such thing as a squib. Like, how do you show someone getting shot in someone had to invent it, or there's no standard for it, or, there's no giant pads that anyone makes that you can jump off a building and fall onto. And so it's all innovation. That's what's crazy about a movie like this. And so when they were filming that scene where he's in a cage with a lion, he had to go into a cage with a lion. Like, there's no two ways about it. You can't you can't fake it. That technology didn't exist, and you had to do everything practically. And there was a guy riding a bike or a tricycle up on a tightrope at one point. And which I understand that's part of the circus, but like, he had to probably do it several times for the movie, and it's just incredible. He had monkeys on him and crap like that. Like, that's really impressive. And I feel like a lot of the practicality of filmmaking has kind of gone out the window in our generation. It went out the window a long time ago with CGI and with modern effects and stunt doubles and all that crap. Not to take anything away from modern filmmaking, but it's a very charming and interesting aspect of films from this era that I think is something I could see myself latching on to.
Nice. Yeah. So while we're recording this, we don't know what our next picks are or anything. But I want to say, for a future installment, if none of us pick these three that I'm about to say, it would be fun to do like a themed edition of this where we review the General, The Great Dictator, and Safety Last. So we get Buster Keaton, Charlie Chaplin, and Harold Lloyd all in one go. So maybe something to earmark for the future.
Interesting.
Okay.
But yeah, so what else can we say about it? The kind of just even in the beginning, the funhouse stuff. Like, I was going to ask you guys, first of all, have you guys ever been to the circus?
Of course, there was the St. Christopher Festival every summer.
Oh, right. Yeah, well, yeah.
Not quite the circus.
Right. Although Speedway sure has some animals to go there. Anyway.
I had a very bad experience at the circus as a kid.
So really?
I don't remember. Yeah, that's where I almost died.
Oh.
I fell and like fractured my skull, and it was at Market Square Arena when I was like 8 years old.
What?
You don't know that story?
I don't think I do.
Yeah, my grandparents.
How is it possible that I don't know that story?
Yeah, I almost died. That was a big part of my childhood.
And how weird is it that you almost died when you fell and hit your head,
right? And
your brother almost died when he fell and hit his head.
Concussions run in our family.
Yeah.
We were at Market Square Arena. My grandparents took me to the circus, and we were sitting. You know how there's like levels of stadiums, and we were in the front row of the second level.
Okay.
Which there's a railing in front of you. You go up a flight of stairs, and then that's the front row, right? Mm-hmm. And so there's a railing in front of you and everything. And I was 8 years old. I was goofing off, and I slipped, went through the railing, and I fell about 10 feet, and I landed head first. And I remember nothing because I was unconscious for almost a day at the hospital.
What the fuck?
Yeah. And so I have no memory of the circus whatsoever, and yeah,
I'm just blown. Like, Tiny, we've been friends for like How long? Like over 20 years?
It's probably because we didn't play sports together.
Oh,
I would always
yeah.
tell that story at sports because I had like a couple more concussions like when I played football and stuff.
Well, let's not bury the lead here. I was the freshman football team manager.
You were.
And 9/11 was a really weird day for me.
Right.
Reference to my... Anyway, a past episode.
I'm sure it was a weird day just for you.
Yeah. Well, it actually was because I was setting out the cones and everything for the footballers. And like I was like, oh, there are no planes in the sky.
Oh boy.
But yeah, anyway, I put it on my live journal.
I'll do a live journal.
Yeah, oh Jesus, that has been purged from the internet forever and ever and ever. Cringe City population, DJ Matty Fresh. Burr, 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 burr.
Good Lord.
So anyway.
So yeah, that's my only experience with the circus. So I literally don't remember it at all.
Okay. Ben, circus, like full on circus.
I remember going at least once. Maybe I was around 8 years old or so, and I'm sure it was at Market Square Arena as well.
Were
But
we
yeah,
at the same circus?
could be.
We're the same age. It was the same location.
Yeah, I don't know. I don't really have any clear memories. I've never been one of those people who's like afraid of clowns, so I had no
Me
problems.
neither.
Me either.
Yeah.
The circus is kind of fucked up.
It kind of is.
You think
Yeah.
about it.
Yeah.
Very, very exploitative of people and animals.
Yeah.
Not a good history there.
It's kind of weird because I remember when I was a kid, I went to the circus at Market Square Arena, and like I distinctly remember like pushing this kid off the ledge and laughing so much. It was really weird. No, not real. I think I have like a memory of being at the circus when I was like very, very little. And like, I think I remember seeing like 2 elephants, and like, that's literally the only memory I have.
Yeah.
Yeah. So I don't know.
Do you
Anyway.
think if Charlie Chaplin were alive today, do you think he would do the circus at a Cirque du Soleil show?
Oh, yeah. Do you think that he would give 2 shits about this episode right now? That has been derailed so far from the movie.
Right.
But yeah, have you guys ever seen Circus of Soleil?
No.
Nope.
Have not.
Probably
me
never
neither.
will.
Yeah.
When I was in Vegas, they were there, but they I was 18 and I was there with my parents,
Oh, yeah.
and it was like
Vegas, baby.
right. It was like a quasi erotic show.
Oh, okay.
I was like, God damn! I hope they don't want to go to that. We didn't, thankfully.
So you guys just went to the strip club instead?
Right. We saw Mamma Mia,
Nice.
which was actually delightful.
So Mamma Mia was working that night at the Glitter Gulch on Fremont Street.
Glitter gold.
Anyway,
That was really specific.
it really was, and I wouldn't know that from when I went to Vegas and we spent like 5 hours in that fucking place.
Oh my God.
When we went in, there was like one of the people that were handing out like cards and stuff.
Yeah.
And when we came out, that same person was there.
Jeez.
And it was like, oh, that's definitely just a memory.
Should we save a story for Patreon?
Probably, yes. I panicked just a little bit because I thought that I was muted still, but I'm not. I was just peeking because I was being very loud. Anyway, much like the ladies at the Glitter Gulch. Anyway,
Oh my God.
so fuck. So the circus, the movie. It's good. In terms of ranking it with the other 2 Charlie Chaplin movies I've seen, I would say it's third, under City Lights and The Great Dictator. But that, and I feel kind of bad saying that because it's not like it's a dig at the circus at all, because I enjoyed the circus quite a bit. It's just City Lights and The Great Dictator are just peak
All-time great.
all-time greats.
Nice.
Yeah. How, like, Ben, where does it rank with your viewpoint of the whole silent film era that you've seen?
The whole silent film area or the Chaplin movies? that I've
Let's go
seen?
Chaplin, and then if there's any yeah.
I liked it quite a bit. Like I said, I would still put it. City Lights is one of my favorite movies of all time. And I really love The Gold Rush. Modern Times is also great. And I would probably put this at maybe the same level as Modern Times, maybe a little bit below it.
Okay.
But yeah, the only other silent movies that I've seen are like The Cabinet of Dr. Caligari.
Oh yeah.
Um,
Previous Ebert's Great Movies list movie.
yeah, which is also pretty short, tiny. If you want
Yeah.
to check that out,
Very
It's
trippy
a
and cool.
proto horror German
interesting.
movie.
Yeah.
So
Very kind of
Um,
abstract and it's
yes.
very cool.
Gotcha.
the other ones that I've seen, I don't know. I'd probably put this. I don't want to say near the bottom, but yeah, I don't know. I probably have to reevaluate or relook at which ones I have seen. I know Sunrise is incredible, which is also on this list. So, yeah. I've also
Okay.
seen a, what was his name? Griffith, the Birth of the Nation.
Oh,
I haven't
yeah.
seen that one.
Oh,
W.E.B. Griffith?
Yes.
Yeah.
The other one that he did.
Fuck. The bar mitzvah of the nation?
Starts with a D.
Oh god, I was trying to make another joke, but I can't. W.E.B. Griffith.
D.W. Griffith.
D.W. Griffith. Well, why? I think W.E.B. Griffith
Intolerance.
is.
That's the ones that I have seen of his.
Oh,
And I've seen Broken Blossoms of his as well. But anyway, yeah. Still would recommend.
Birth of a Nation.
That is on the Ebert's movies list.
Yeah,
which
yeah. We've talked
will-
about that.
Yeah, we will be skipping that one.
That and
Sorry, Tiny, if that was one of your picks.
damn.
There was this idea that I had that like the last Ebert's Great Movies list episode we would do would be that like Birth of a Nation and whatever the Hitler
Triumph of the Will.
Yeah.
God.
And like there's a third one that's on there, I think, like Avatar or just kidding.
Yeah, I don't know.
Cool. Is that a review of The Circus?
Yeah.
Sure.
Okay. So as is customary with these episodes, we are now going to ask Tiny, would this movie make your own personal the great movies of all time list? And what's your rating? Do you give it a thumbs up?
And
Or
if
thumbs
it,
down.
if it wouldn't make your list, you have to pick one that would go in its place.
Yes. Which
Oh.
probably would have been a really good thing to tell you about before we are
Yeah.
47 minutes into this recording.
I would give it a thumbs up for sure. I think if I had like a top 100 list of all time, I don't think this would be on it.
Okay.
But I still feel like there's so many movies I need to watch. You know, so many things I haven't seen.
Yeah.
What would I put in its place?
Triumph of the Will.
Jack and Jill.
Jack and Jill.
Grown Ups too. Yeah.
Oh, Jesus.
Man, I don't know.
Do you want us to come back to you?
Does it need to be like something in the same category?
No.
No, I like to make it something in the same category because I'm difficult, but also that would be really unfair to you. The artist.
You're right. If I was gonna say a comedy, I'd probably say it might be on this list. I'd say like Annie Hall.
Oh,
Like
okay.
a legendary.
Annie Hall is on the list.
Is
yeah.
it son of a bitch? But I don't know. Yeah, I'd have to come up with a comedy of some kind.
Okay.
Yeah.
Maybe like Dumb and Dumber.
Dumb and Dumber, that'd be a good one.
Yeah.
Yeah, that'd be a good one. Physical comedy,
Sure.
that'd be a good one. Dumb and Dumber,
Nice. Cool. And do you give it a thumbs up or a thumbs down?
definitely a thumbs up.
Nice.
Yeah, I did enjoy it.
Sweet. And Ben, your rating and deciding of great movies.
Yes, thumbs up. I don't think it would make my list. And again, not because I didn't like it, but I like the Gold Rush better.
Okay.
And I was a little surprised to see this one on the list and not the Gold Rush. I just was blown away by the Gold Rush. So
I I have a question. I don't mean to derail us or anything, but there are two versions of the Gold Rush, aren't there?
Yes.
Is there a silent version and a talkie version, or how did that shake out? Do you know off the top of your head?
I feel like there was one that was talkie-ish, but don't quote me on that.
Okay.
I just remember that it came out in like 1942 or something, but I have not seen that version. I remember hearing about the Unspooled episode where they talked about that, though. And yeah, there was some difference between the two. Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So my rating, you said thumbs up, right?
Yeah.
Okay. I say thumbs up as well. And, I'm so excited because I just thought of something. So thumbs up as well. Unfortunately, probably wouldn't make my great movies list. Just because it's like City Lights and Great Dictator are stronger in my opinion. And what I would put in its place would be something I just thought of off the top of my head that I just confirmed is not on the list, but Galaxy Quest.
That's a good one.
Yeah.
Okay.
So Galaxy Quest.
Great movie.
Yeah.
All right.
Shall we go on to our next movie
Let's.
in this edition of the Ebert's Great Movies List Review? So next up is 1956's John Ford movie selected by Ben, The Searchers. Ben, do you want to tell us the plot summary and why you picked The Searchers?
Yes. So,
because you don't have a good relationship with this movie, right?
let's not get ahead of ourselves.
Okay, yes.
All right. So The Searchers, 1956, directed by John Ford. An American Civil War veteran embarks on a journey to rescue his niece from the Comanches. So,
damn it. I didn't have this prepped or anything, but I was going to say, the way I was going to introduce that was like, so do you want to talk to us about The Searchers, partner? And anyway, so
right.
Why'd you pick it?
Great impression.
Thank you. Thanks, Pilgrim.
So I have really wrestled with The Searchers maybe more than any other movie in a long time, maybe ever. I watched it for the first time because of the Unspooled podcast where they went through the AFI's top 100 movies of all time list. And I watched it for that in 2018 or 2019 and really did not like it at the time, and then came to find out when I listened to the episode that it is like one of like Spielberg's favorite movies of all time, one of Scorsese's, and it's the inspiration for so many other movies. And I just could not wrap my head around that, and just the final end product on paper just in my mind just did not match up with what everyone makes of it, so I finally I don't know anybody else that has ever seen this personally. Okay. So I figured this would be as good of an opportunity as any to finally talk about it.
Nice. And
see if I was alone in that opinion.
Yeah. You were searching for someone to talk to about this movie. And that's interesting because I think I knew that was the reason why, but also part of it was that I thought that an added reason was because we talked so much about Kurosawa, and Kurosawa was a total fanboy for John Ford.
Right.
Yeah, so that's interesting. Yeah, Tiny, was this your first time watching The Searchers? It was my first time watching The Searchers.
Yeah, my first time for sure.
Okay.
My first John Wayne movie too.
Yeah, that was John Ford movies, John Wayne movies. Oh. Any exposure there?
John Ford, I feel like I've seen.
He did The Grapes of Wrath.
I haven't seen it. Did he do Sierra Madre, Treasure of the Sierra Madre? Was that John Ford?
No.
That was John Huston.
Oh,
Houston.
Yeah.
He did Stagecoach, which was I think the only John Ford movie and the only John Wayne movie that I've ever seen. Okay. Before The Searchers.
I don't think I've seen a John Ford movie then.
Interesting.
Okay.
I recommend Stagecoach. It's pretty cool.
Okay.
But yeah, I kind of if you don't mind me going into my kind of overall thoughts on the movie.
Go ahead.
I wrestled with this movie myself. So it is kind of it's kind of I don't want to say standard, but it is, like you said, it's a highly influential movie. I mean, it is very well regarded. And I think watching it in 2021 carries with it some issues, not, and I don't want to, I'm going to sidestep like any racial insensitivities and everything. Cause I mean, this was in 1956 that it was made, and it's set like after the Civil War. So, I'm sure that there's a lot of authenticity to the gross racism present throughout it. But my kind of the stick in the mud that I am about it is that when you have a movie that is so influential, like incredibly influential on an entire genre and influencing entire like careers of filmmakers that are like huge names in film, like you said, the like Marty and first name basis and and Spielberg and everything just were so influenced by this. When you have that, you kind of it's hard to watch the original movie and kind of divorce yourself from like everything that everything that it influenced and like the way that those influences were done to better effect in terms of just storytelling and basic filmmaking. So that was what I kind of struggled with. What I will say, my issues with the whole overall movie, because it does feel a little bit kind of just I wasn't as engaged as I was hoping to be in this movie by any stretch. But the big thing that I was just stunned and blown away by was the visuals, like the like wide shots of just the epic filmmaking of just the wide vistas and the landscape of like the desert and all of these locations and even so much so that I kicked the table and caused a little bit of a bump in the recording. But no, just those big wide shots, the people like on horseback in formation and all of these things just were gorgeous filmmaking, wrapped around a package that I just wasn't too keen on. So how do you guys feel about The Searchers?
Go ahead, Tiny.
Well, I'm not really like a Western guy. Like I'm not into the genre. I've seen some, like I've seen Good, Bad, and the Ugly and stuff like that. So it wasn't really in my wheelhouse in that regard. But I had a sort of different reaction to it. I was kind of into it.
Okay.
And I enjoyed it to an extent. I think of these three, it's my least favorite.
Okay.
But I still had a pretty good time with it. I think it was fun to experience John Wayne for the first time and how he really all the stereotypes and cliches about him were confirmed in this movie. He totally is that kind of guy. But I've never been critical of him in that regard because I think the characters he portrayed, which this is probably one of his most famous, if not the most famous character he ever portrayed, is very true to who he was as a person. Like there's a lot of stories about John Wayne in Hollywood and how he was a hard ass, he was a tough guy, and he lived up to that. And so I respect his talent as an actor, and I respect the persona that he built because it wasn't some imitation, it wasn't some bullshit thing. Like that's who he was. He was just kind of a gruff guy, tough guy.
Yeah, and it's funny because like I don't know how much of like the trivia that I read is confirmed or like even apocryphal, I guess. But like there are notes in the trivia for this movie that are like just examples of him being like a fucking just really nice guy.
Yeah.
Like him like stopping the production because one of the Native American actresses was upset because she had to miss like a family's like wedding or something, and like he had the production stopped, and then he had his private plane fly her to the wedding.
Oh wow!
Nice. I think that's check out the trivia on IMDb. So like they're like, I don't know how much of that is just kind of legend or kind of playing into a reputation or kind of counteracting a reputation that he had in terms of like storytelling from filmmaking and everything. But I thought that was interesting. Yeah.
But I do agree with the visuals, though. I thought, and one of my favorite parts, I have no idea if it's accurate at all, but the costumes were just like really fun. Like I have no idea if they're even remotely accurate, but it just felt like an old Western. And like especially most notably John Wayne's outfits, the different clothing that he wears throughout, just really, it felt iconic. And I don't know, it sort of made me think of like Marty McFly in Back to the Future Part 3, where he goes back to the Old West and he's wearing this ridiculous like serape outfit and he's so out of place. And I feel like if you had transported John Wayne and the Searchers back to actual like 1871 or whatever this is supposed to take place, he would have been so out of place and looked so wrong. I have no clue. I don't know if anything's accurate at all, but it just felt really fun. It felt like Hollywood Western. It felt like iconic costumes. And
okay.
I thought it was fun. I don't know if it's accurate, but it's fun.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Ben, you have a you have a difficult relationship with this movie. How do you feel about it, partner?
Yeah, that was my biggest question going into this, because I remember really hating the way that the racism was, I don't know if I'd say glorified, but and not even really celebrated. But like my biggest question was like, yes, I was pretty confident that the film knows that John Wayne's character is racist, but does it condemn him for it? And I don't think I got that question answered this time around. Because it's, I don't know, the ending is just so abrupt, and there's such a heel turn that we can get into a little bit later, but I don't know. Plus, like, the other thing that I came away with from this viewing is just like, it's just kind of a mess overall. Like, I remembered the storyline about like the girl who he writes to, the young guy writes to, and their family back home. And I remembered that storyline, but I did not remember how much of the movie it actually takes up.
Right.
Yeah.
And it just does not fit in with the rest of the movie,
It threw me for a loop.
It was distracting.
It really did.
And it's just, I get like it's probably thrown in there for comic relief, but it's just so weird and out of place.
Yeah.
And like Ebert even writes in his essay about it, which I have highlighted somewhere, I think.
Yeah, while you're looking that up, I totally agree. I don't think that it's. I think I wouldn't say his racism is glorified or anything, but it's messy. Yeah, I'll have more thoughts on that. But anyway, what did Ebert say?
Ebert says, talking about the family back home, this second strand is without interest, and those who value the Searchers filter it out, patiently waiting for a return to the main storyline. Okay, I can understand that. Like, there are portions of even great movies that I love that I, don't totally care for. But I just can't, like, this is the 12th greatest movie of all time, according to the AFI Top 100 Movies list. And I cannot understand a movie with that many problems being so high on the list,
Yeah.
I agree that it is, from a story construction standpoint and script standpoint, it's kind of sloppy. Like, most notably, I think I was confused at how many girls were taken.
Yeah.
One was from one family, the Jorgensen family or whatever their name was, and then his niece was taken, essentially. And so that was confusing. There, the timeline got a little confusing too.
That was my big one. Yeah,
it's one thing I liked about the movie. I thought it was really amazing that they stuck with this the characters stuck with this vow to get this girl back for years. That was cool, but it wasn't translated that well.
Exactly.
Yeah, I mean, I like the kind of unsung passage of time because, I mean, they could have just left that part out entirely about them being gone for so long,
right?
And like they barely mention it. So.
Yeah. This was not a good movie to watch in multiple sittings. I will say that.
True, yeah.
But in terms of Ethan's character arc, John Wayne's character arc, I feel like he is maybe celebrated in the movie, or the movie, I don't know, the lore surrounding the stature of this movie in pop culture and in influence of other filmmakers is that he is I don't know if I'd go so far as to say like the prototypical anti-hero, but he is like, he has the makings of like an anti-hero, like someone that you don't like or really respect, but he's the central protagonist of the movie and you're supposed to root for him. And I didn't find a way into his character, and a lot of the things that he did and a lot of things that he represented were bordering on reprehensible. And the movie and the script and the storytelling, the plotting does not find a redemptive arc in that, like, at all. Like Ben said, there's kind of just this really quick like heel turn at the end of the movie that just felt really, really lackluster and unsatisfactory to me. And what I kept thinking about throughout the movie is that I remember hearing that like in the last few seasons of Breaking Bad, Vince Gilligan patterned a lot of the storytelling of those last seasons of Breaking Bad and the arc of Walter White and Jesse Pinkman after a lot of like he drew a lot of inspiration from The Searchers and everything. So kind of knowing that, like, I appreciate the significance of this movie in terms of better properties that have come to rise in terms of influence and everything over the years. But I felt really, really unsatisfied with Ethan's kind of ending, because it's not like, and we'll dance around spoilers, but it doesn't, like, it could have worked to redeem him, but it doesn't do enough to try to redeem him. And then on the other side, it could have gone a way where it condemns him and he becomes a tragic figure, but it doesn't go that route either. Like,
right.
I don't know. It just didn't sit well with me. And in terms of having seen, I don't remember what year this movie came out, but this movie I'm about to reference, but last year I watched for the first time Shane. And that movie is just incredible with its characterization and like its patterning of the archetypical Western hero and everything. And having that relatively fresh in my mind in terms of classic Westerns, when I go and watch The Searchers, like, I'm just like, it's a recipe to be completely disappointed with this movie. So what are your guys' thoughts on the arc and everything?
Yeah, I think to me, he was just, the character was so dismissive of everyone else. And he was the authority on everything. And for me, the most egregious was his sidekick, the other, I can't remember his damn name, the character's name. Martin Pauly, I think was his
right.
name.
Yeah.
He's dismissive of him the entire time because he's basically an adopted member of the family, and he just criticizes him the whole time. Like, well, you're not part of this family. She's not your blood. What are you still doing here? And it's like, what's the problem? The guy had put his entire life on hold to come help you and save his sister, essentially. So it's like, what? And I feel like that's never resolved because he sees it all the way through to the end. And he's an effective partner in this quest, if you will. And that was the part that bothered me the most. Is like, why can't you cut this guy a modicum of slack?
Yeah.
Like, I just don't get that.
Like, come on, John Wayne. It's 2021. The family, the family you have is the family you find.
Right. I don't know. That bothered me throughout, and just the fact that he was so dismissive of everybody. That'll be the day. He said that, like, 4 times?
That was another piece of trivia that I read, that this might be like apocryphal, and this might be just legend and everything, but it was reported that who was it? Buddy Holly and whoever else wrote the song "That'll Be the Day." They went and saw this movie in the theater, and they were so taken with it that, like, it inspired them to write that song.
Wow!
Like, that's where the lyrics "That'll Be the Day." I don't know. But.
Yeah. To go along with that, like I said, I was wondering if the movie would condemn Ethan for being a shithead and a racist. And there's the famous shot, the final shot of him standing in that doorway. And I understand that it's meant to imply, like, he's standing outside this house and he's, like, on the outside looking in at, I guess, a new world, if you want to interpret it that way. And so Ebert also wrote, "The shot is famous and beloved, but small counterbalance to his views throughout the film, and indeed there is no indication he thinks any differently about Indians."
Right.
It's like...
Yeah. It's a lack of growth. It's unearned.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I think part of what frustrates me is, like, he starts out, when he's first introduced, I find that really interesting. Like, his backstory that he never really expands upon. Like, he comes back, I think, 3 years after the Civil War ends. So nobody knows where he's been since then.
Right.
It's implied that he has been in, like, Mexico or something, or, like, he gives that medal to one of the kids.
Yeah.
And it's almost implied that he, like, stole it from someone. And then he's got all that gold, and it's almost implied that he stole that. So I find that really interesting. And then it just kind of goes nowhere throughout the rest of the movie, you know?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
again, it's just pretty sloppy.
And I don't know. I don't even know if you could accurately call him an anti-hero, because, like, anti-heroes, at least my understanding, is, like, they are doing shitty things for a noble purpose, you know? Or they have good intentions, I guess, but a bad way of solving their problems, you know?
Yes and no. I think kind of the archetypical kind of anti-hero is more self-centered in that respect.
Right.
When it comes to that. Like, they may have, like, some... on the surface, they might have, like, some like somewhat noble reasoning for it, but oftentimes in my view, it's always misguided or just kind of a excuse, I guess. Like, I don't know, just off the top of my head, it could be just an excuse for shitty behavior, like, I don't know, just following someone and then going into the Capitol or something. I don't know. I don't know. It's stupid. Yeah. But yeah, and I don't know. I had a thought, but I got derailed on my thought process.
I immediately started disliking his character when he it was like the opening scene or the opening part where he the captain of the Texas Rangers comes in and wants to basically deputize him to bring him in, and he's like, well, I can't make 2 oaths because I already made 1 oath to the Confederacy, or
right.
And I was just like, all right, fuck off, like, and not because,
that was another thing,
not because he was wrong, but it's like, okay, how can you still have an existing oath to something that doesn't exist anymore,
right?
And the person he made the oath to is dead, like. I don't know. That just pissed me off. Like, it's just such a stupid way of thinking.
100%. And I kind of clocked that too. And I was kind of annoyed by it, specifically because I kind of felt like, and maybe this is me projecting a lot onto the movie, but I kind of felt like I felt very annoyed by that, specifically because, not necessarily because of the lacking logic, like, within it, but more because it felt like, okay, this is fucking Western cinema just glorifying the losing side and doing the whole fucking South will rise again bullshit.
Yeah.
And, like, that's the reason why we have fucking dumb fuck, you know, idiot racists all across the US thinking that they can fucking fly the Confederate flag and have it not be completely fucking bonkers, insane, stupid bullshit.
Yeah.
Right.
Anyway,
But yeah, he
So,
just wasn't a likable character at all, and
No.
I think even anti-heroes have redeeming qualities, and
right.
he didn't really have many, if all,
Right.
if any. So I don't know, wasn't really enjoyable.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did you guys catch the influence on Star Wars in this? The original Star Wars?
I
I think I may have, but I can't remember it now.
There's
didn't.
when John Wayne goes back to the house and it's all burned up.
oh yeah.
Oh, whoa.
That's exactly what I thought of.
Huh.
Uncle Owen and Aunt Peru.
Yep.
Wow. That I didn't even register with me. Holy shit. God, like when
Shocking.
you, I know. May the 4th be with you. So we're recording this May the 4th, guys. Anyway, yeah, that's interesting because I thought when you said that the influence on Star Wars, my immediate thought was like the big wide shots of the desert and everything.
Right.
Like,
Yeah. I mean, yeah.
equating that.
George Lucas, I'm sure, is another huge fan of this movie.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Interesting.
Did you guys apparently Travis Bickle from Taxi Driver was based on Ethan Edwards?
Oh, I can kinda
see that a little bit.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were going to say he's in the movie in the background. Like, what? That's interesting. I can definitely see that.
See,
yeah.
that's a way to write an anti-hero, right?
Right.
So, I don't know.
The best anti-heroes are the ones that Todd Phillips rips off to make Joker decades later.
He speaks for all of us.
Yeah. We live in a society. Anyway, yeah, any other real thoughts on The Searchers, guys?
Not really.
Okay.
No, I'm just glad that I was able to finally talk out loud with someone about this.
Yeah.
If I were to ever, I mean, the next time that I talk to Martin Scorsese,
Oh, yeah.
I wouldn't want
Marty.
to ask him about like Raging Bull or Goodfellas or anything. I would want to ask him like, why the fuck do you love this movie so much? Like, please,
Right.
somebody please enlighten me on it.
Yeah.
It still baffles me.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, if I ever talk to Marty again, I will just be like, what is your problem with these superhero fantasy movies with magic rocks in them? Just kidding. That's such a stupid thing. Anyway, parting thoughts, ratings, and would they be on our great movies list individually? Tiny, thumbs up, thumbs down, and status of great movie.
It made me really want to shoot a lever action rifle. Also, that's the other thing. Which is
A what?
a lever action. It's the
Oh,
one where
lever.
They shoot it and you crank it, and then
Oh,
that's a lever action rifle.
Okay, yeah.
Yeah, it made me really want to. I've never shot one. I always think I think they're really cool
Yeah.
and fun, and it made me think of that. Which got nut.
Yeah.
Anyways,
That'll
you-
be the day.
Nice. Fuck, nice.
Nice.
I was gonna derail it a little bit and be like, I don't remember if this is in this movie or anything, but just genuine question. The revolvers where they have to slap the hammer
Yeah.
down and everything, is that like a real thing?
yeah, they still
Okay.
make guns like that.
Nice.
It's called a single action.
Oh, okay.
Yeah,
Yeah. That seems like it would be fun.
right. Yeah, it would be.
Partner.
Right.
Yeah.
I've never shot a revolver either. Well, I have, but not like a big, not like they use in this movie.
Right.
Anyways, thumbs. I'm actually gonna go ahead and give it a thumbs up because I
Okay.
was kind of into it and I did enjoy it. But like again, of these three, it's my least favorite. I think The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly is a way better movie.
Yeah.
That I've seen, or like 310 to Yuma, which I've never seen the original, but the remake with Russell Crowe and
Christian Bale.
It's
Yeah.
a phenomenal movie.
Nice.
So yeah, I would give it a thumbs up, but definitely wouldn't be on any kind of top list for me. But I would replace it with, I'm gonna actually say Tombstone. I think
Oh, interesting.
keep it in the genre, and
Okay.
that movie is so fun. The characters are great.
Yeah.
It's over the top and kind of silly, but it still plays with the archetypes and the kind of the standard cliches of the Western. I love that movie.
Yeah.
Too,
You
so,
wouldn't put Adam Sandler's The Ridiculous Six?
I never saw that one.
Yeah.
I could not bring myself to watch that one.
Oh, yeah.
Is it still on Netflix? I assume
Yes.
it is.
Probably.
Yeah,
I think it's one because it's a Netflix movie. I think
Right, it's
it's
their movie.
on Netflix in perpetuity.
Oh my god.
Yeah.
Yeah, thankfully it's never popped up.
Right.
Well, except for when it came out, because
Until we revive Summer of Sandler,
Yes.
that is.
God.
Or we do the ultimate trilogy, The Ridiculous Six, The Magnificent Seven, and The Hateful Eight.
Oh.
Yeah.
Hateful Eight was a really good Western.
Oh, yeah.
Not really in the vein of most Westerns.
Right.
But yeah, good movie. I like that movie a lot.
Western adjacent.
Yeah. Maybe
Yeah,
not
Western
in the
adjacent, that's a good
maybe
word.
not in the vein, but definitely in the bloodstream, I guess. I don't know. Would be the same thing.
It's
Yeah.
a bit of a stretch there.
A little bit.
So, yeah.
Anyway.
Yeah.
My rating and everything, I would probably say, honestly, I would say thumbs down. Yeah.
Okay.
I even though I love the filmmaking aspect of it, I was so disengaged by it that, I just couldn't deal. And my pitch to replace it obviously would not make it on my great movies list, but my replacement choice would be the remake of 3:10 to Yuma.
Nice.
Because I haven't seen the original, even though I own it on Criterion Blu-ray. Just flexing there. Anyway, but that remake is just magnificent. I love it so much. So
I almost went with that, but I wanted to go with something else. I don't know.
Nice.
Okay.
Nice.
Ben?
Yeah, Ben.
I don't know. I mean, yes, I think there are some decent filmmaking aspects of this. Like, yeah, it is a great movie that should be watched on a big screen. And I don't know. Like I said, I was really intrigued by John Wayne's character's introduction and the prospect of that, but then it all just, I don't know, falls apart, and it's just a mess. Like with the rest of the side story, and then we didn't even talk about the scene where they go to the fort and they visit the other people that have been abducted by the Comanches, who are basically insane.
Yeah.
And I don't know. That part was also a mess.
I kind of forgot about that. That's pretty egregious.
There was a
Right.
wedding too.
Yes.
Yeah.
A silly ass wedding.
Yeah.
So I don't know. Probably thumbs down.
Okay.
What I would replace it with, another Western that I was kind of surprised is not on this list. High Noon. Have you guys seen that one? Starring Gary Cooper.
I have not.
I have
been meaning
not.
to.
Yeah.
It's a really great, like allegory for like McCarthyism.
Oh,
Gary
interesting.
Cooper is this sheriff of this Western town, and he's like trying to get other people to come and help him defeat this gang, and nobody else will help him. So it's kind of this, metaphor for McCarthyism and all that.
Okay.
But so that's what I would pick if I would keep it in the Western genre. But I think what I would actually replace it with is another great anti-hero movie, and that's Training Day.
Oh,
nice.
okay.
Nice.
Yeah.
Awesome.
So-
Is Training Day not on the list?
No.
Huh.
I don't know if there's any Denzel movies.
Oh, wow.
I've heard High Noon has one of the best long takes ever. Like a long tracking shot or something like that.
It's been a while since I've seen it, but I have been meaning to rewatch it. Yeah, I'm surprised it's not on this list.
Yeah, nice. All right, well, we are going to go into our third review. Are you guys good? Do you guys need a break or anything?
I'm good.
Okay.
Go ahead.
Okay, so I'm gonna play the second interstitial for this. So yeah, and you guys aren't gonna be able to hear it because you're not wearing headphones. So we're gonna go into our review of Paths of Glory after this little segment here.
Look and the dialogue create an atmosphere that really involved me. I was surprised how caught up I got in this movie and in the behavior of the characters. This is a very good movie that is sometimes hard to watch because of a level of violence and depravity that is unusual even among crime films.
Words right. They have the words exactly right. You know what I liked too
Was the stylistic freedom they gave themselves.
All right, so our third and final Ebert's Great Movies List pick for this edition of the Ebert's Great Movies List project is a movie that was selected by Tiny. Tiny, do you want to give us an introduction of the movie and why you chose this particular movie for this edition of the Ebert's Great Movies List project?
So the Paths of Glory came out in 1957. The plot synopsis is, after refusing to attack an enemy position, a general accuses the soldiers of cowardice, and their commanding officer must defend them. And I picked this because it's a very early Kubrick movie. I think it's his second movie. And Stanley Kubrick is one of my favorite filmmakers of all time. And this was a bit of a blind spot for me. Also, I've said before on the podcast how much the subject of World War I interests me.
Yeah.
And
yeah, because 1917 was your movie of the year?
Number one movie for 2019, yep. So, yeah, the subject, it just interests me, and it's a not a very well-researched subject in American history. So I'm always intrigued by it, and this is supposed to be a very iconic World War I story and movie, so I wanted to see it for that reason.
Nice.
Yeah.
Very nice. So I'm looking. I think this is maybe his third or fourth feature.
Is it? Okay.
I think, I don't know, but what did you think of it? And yeah, how did we do this? Yeah, how Paths of Glory.
Paths of Glory. So I ended up liking the movie, but I didn't know a lot about it going in, and I kind of wanted to go in that way, and I for whatever reason I had the impression that it was more of a like traditional war movie and more action-y and stuff like that. Because some of the stuff that I had seen from it and heard about it were supposedly the war scenes were iconic, so that's what I was looking for, and it's really not about that, really at all. And so I was sort of taken aback when we got into like the meat of the movie. And the main part of the movie, it kind of surprised me, and so I wasn't really in the right mindset for the type of movie that it ended up being. But I think it had enough of like a social commentary and enough of some classic Stanley Kubrick work and his filmmaking and camera work that I'm such a huge fan of, that it kept me interested and kept me going along with the story and everything. So I ended up liking it, but I was a little taken aback by the formatting of it. Yeah.
Interesting.
What
Ben,
about you guys?
How about your history with it, and had you seen it before, and what did you think?
Had not seen it before, and really liked it. Was really impressed. And yeah, I was kind of going into it expecting a full-blown war movie. And I enjoyed those scenes in that section of the movie, but then the rest of it was just equally incredible and equally riveting. I was really impressed, really blown away.
Nice. And that's really interesting because I went into this kind of with the opposite mindset with you than you guys. I went into it expecting it to be light on like war stuff and more about whatever human element it was. Because I'd read the plot summary and I just assumed, surprise courtroom drama. And I just figured that it was going to be that was going to be the crux of it. So when we actually got the shots of like going through the trenches and them doing their run, their charge, the attack. I was very pleasantly surprised, and something that really just blew me away. And I don't know why this was such a surprise to me, because I think I was under the assumption, or I was under the impression that Paths of Glory was a troubled production from Kubrick. I haven't researched it, but for some reason I think I got it conflated with I think his first movie, The Killers, I think, was one that he disowned. Fear and Desire. Was that one that he disowned and didn't like it?
I don't know. I just know it was his first movie.
Okay. Either that or The Killing. like there was some problem with the production. So I got that conflated with this. And so for some reason I wasn't expecting like that extraordinarily like Kubrick trademark camera movements, like the tracking shots and just the really, I don't know how to describe it, but just wide frame. And like when they're going through the trench and he's going through and he's talking to the troops and everything, it was funny because I was watching it and I was like, oh, I think I retroactively kind of want to ding 1917 a little bit because like those, like the scenes of going through the trenches and everything is like very clearly modeled after these sequences, and like seeing it in black and white as well, it was just stunning and really immersive for me. So all of that I found really compelling and interesting and good, and the kind of human aspect of it and the kind of the themes that it plays with, this kind of like, I don't know if I'd say anti-war, but like this just kind of craziness of inherent of war and everything, something that Kubrick, did a lot with. One of my favorite kind of snobby things is that my family, at least like growing up, my brother and my dad was in the Marines, like way before any of us were born. But growing up, they liked movies that were in their interest and everything, and like that, like it wasn't like they didn't analyze movies or anything like that. Mm-hmm. And so in my snobbish way, I was just like they're like, oh, like we love the first half of Full Metal Jacket because that's just the boot camp stuff and everything, and it's so authentic to what it's like to be in the Marines and stuff. And I'm like,
right,
the whole point of it is like how like it's anti-war, whatever. There are themes that are completely incongruous to what you're watching it for. But there's some of that here in Paths of Glory as well. Like when, I won't really give anything away, but kind of that stretch at the end, like the kind of really, the parts that really come home at the end are really, really captivating and intense.
Yeah, at least my recollection of most Kubrick movies is that he's kind of this detached, maybe not robotic, but his characters don't have a whole lot of depth or emotion to them,
right?
Or at least his protagonists. But I felt like almost all of the characters in this one's, at least the good guys, had this depth and this humanism to them that I was really impressed with. Mm-hmm. Especially the Kirk Douglas character.
Right.
Yeah,
he was the standout for sure. But yeah, I agree. I feel like Kubrick has a tendency to have a lot of his characters, especially the like ancillary background characters, are very wooden and don't have they're not very emotive. And that gets to me in his movies because I feel like everything else is so crisp and well done. But I think it sort of jumped out to me in this movie. Like the one actor, Tim Casey, or he was one of the prisoners who was sentenced. What's his name? Hang on. Tim Carey. Was Private Farrell. He was just very had strange mannerisms, and I don't know, it sort of jumped out to me. Some of the other actors were that way as well. The kind of disgraced lieutenant character also was just wooden is the word that I keep coming back to.
Yeah.
And that sort of jumped out to me in this movie, but I also had a few script issues. I feel like some of the dialogue was just really basic and not very deep. But to your guys' points, the visuals just more than make up for it.
Right.
And the practicality of, again, 1950s filmmaking, where they rented a farmer's field in Germany and basically raised it and just turned it into a trench warfare battlefield over like a course of 3 weeks. They just dug all these shell holes and trenches and turned it into a wasteland. And they filmed it practically with 600 people running across a field.
Yeah.
Really incredible. And they had a tracking camera down in a trench and stuff like that. That stuff is so, for the word that comes to mind is it's so romantic. It's just such a romantic way to film a movie. It's again the practical effects of filming a movie like this at this time period. That all jumped out.
Yeah, and I think that's kind of what I was getting at with my kind of thoughts on it, is that for some reason, maybe this was naive of me to think, but I felt like when approaching an early Kubrick movie, I feel like I wasn't prepared. I kind of just had this thought in my head that he wasn't going to be as meticulous as like 1980s Kubrick
as he's
was.
known for.
Yeah, exactly. And like you can just see like just the sets, the production value, the designs. And also I love that we live in an age where we have HD like TVs and like remastered. I don't know what the process was of like, I don't know how the film was upgraded or anything like that, but I mean, just watching it on like, even just on a 1080p TV, I was really engrossed with it and really, it was really, that's a good word, Tiny, is the romantic nature of it, like the romanticism of it, not in like this is really hot thing, but like just like the kind of very careful attention to detail and the kind of the romantic relationship with the filmmaking is really, really evident and just gorgeous.
Did you recognize Private Arno, the actor who played Private Arno?
Oh no, I didn't. Oh, okay. I don't think I did.
Joe Turkel is the actor. He was the bartender in The Shining.
Oh, wow. I did not. Wow,
I
that's
immediately
awesome.
picked him up, and he is still alive.
Oh, nice.
He's 94 years old.
Oh, shit.
Yeah. Because I was looking through the cast of the movie, and it's like, born 1910, died 1982, or whatever.
Right.
It's like, because it's an older movie, and so most of these actors have passed away, but he's still kicking.
Yeah.
Wow.
So
good for him.
Right.
Oh, he was also in Blade Runner.
He was in Blade Runner. That's probably his most famous role.
Mm-hmm. Well, he did play janitor in Boy Meets World. So.
Right. I think, interestingly, what jumped out to me about this movie was, I'd be curious to read the novel too that it's based on. What jumped out to me is the kind of juxtaposition of sort of the brass versus your grunts in the military. It's that classic give and take between command and the front line, and how they relate to one another. And one of my favorite parts of it is when is he a major? I can't remember. I think he's a general. The guy who's an asshole. He's towards the beginning. He's walking through the trench to come give the news to Colonel Dax, Kirk Douglas, and he's going through the trench and he's talking to all these soldiers, and he's got this sunny disposition and he's real excited because he's got he's got a path in front of him, a path of glory. No, he's got he's got a mission that's gonna make him famous and get him promoted. And meanwhile, all these soldiers are walking by him and they're just absolutely wrecked.
Right.
And they're distraught. Yeah. There's the guy who's shell shocked and he completely writes him off and has him transferred and all that. Mm-hmm. And it's just it was an interesting thing to put into the movie because it's so many war movies glorify the war and they put all these amazing things in there, and this was such a, I don't know if it was, I assume it was intentional from Stanley Kubrick to have, there's one point where he the general looks up at the telescope or spyglass, whatever it is, out of the battlefield, and he's talking about how, it's going to be a great victory, and the men look great, and as he's doing that, there's two guys helping some other guy walk behind him in the trench, and I just thought that was brilliant.
Yeah,
and just how the brass and the generals, with the exception of Colonel Dax, are talking about the men like they're just so expendable. They're just they're just a resource to be used up, and like, well, we should choose 100 men and kill 100 men, and it's just like, what the fuck are you talking about? That's insane. And they're just doing it so nonchalantly. I loved just how detached the brass and the leadership seemed, and it's
absolutely
it's something it's present in most military movies or in most war movies, but the effect in this movie was really striking, and I thought that was it was surprisingly prescient for a movie that's this old, I think, and modern, kind of a modern thing, and the movie suffered for it because it didn't do very well commercially.
Right,
and it was banned in a bunch of countries because it was anti-military, and they banned it in France and Germany and Sweden and all that stuff because it was anti-military basically, and all these Frenchmen died, and they talked about how shitty the French military was, and it was kind of an interesting thing. But I don't know if you guys picked up on any of that stuff.
Yeah, one of the things that I found equally fascinating about that general is like he's got this scar that goes like all the way across his face.
That's right.
Nobody ever talks about it or mentions it or anything. But I just was wondering the whole time, like, how did he get that?
Right.
Like, he is this guy that has such a visible representation of war or whatever, and he is probably the most cowardly person in the movie, right? So I really love that detail.
That is true. Yeah.
Yeah, me too. Yeah, I don't know what else to say.
Right.
Yeah, it's the thing with the shell shock guy was I had a whole point that I was going to make, but I don't know if I want to judge up all of this stuff. But like there was this is a tangent, and I'm sorry, and we can kind of wrap up too. But there was an article. This is from like February, but like it was in a group chat that I'm in. We were talking about it, but a local like school district, I guess, had a bunch, like back in February, had a bunch of parents get up in arms because they were teaching about Black Lives Matter or something.
Yeah. Okay.
And like, I guess there was a controversy with the principal saying like, well, we're just going to talk about that as a political issue and not a social issue or whatever. But I guess a lot of the parents were like, well, this is just like, before that, I guess, I don't know what it was, but they're like, oh, they're teaching them about Black Lives Matter, and this is indoctrinating our kids and everything.
Right.
And I'm like, I'm very much on record with being just really just not just out of fucks when it comes to like arrogant racism and just completely short-sighted and narrow-minded viewpoints. But I just find it funny that a certain segment of a certain political party's like minded people will see something in terms of like school as indoctrinating their children, specifically because it's teaching their children about things that are outside of their narrow-minded viewpoints and everything. But these same parents are the ones that are like, oh, go headfirst into the military, be completely desensitized to anything, have all of your, individuality and thoughts completely just taken out of you, which is, kind of the point of the military. Not to dog the military at all, but that is something that I feel like Kubrick was getting at with this movie and everything. Like Tiny said, with the whole with the general like saying like, oh, there's gonna be a victory, while they're visibly shaken up and everything, and not just completely discounting a soldier suffering from shell shock, and even going so far as to just not believe in it or anything.
Right.
I mean, that's like, those are traits that unfortunately have applications throughout all of, modern times. I don't know.
Right.
Yeah, I don't know. Throughout our modern times, and it just really goes to show that life is just a circus. And yeah.
Especially under these city lights.
Yeah, nice. Yeah. Yep. So, anyway.
Yeah, anyways.
Yeah.
I like the movie. It was cool.
Yes.
Yeah. Should we give our ratings and everything?
Yeah, sure.
Real quick.
Yes.
I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts on the last scene of the movie. And I don't think this is really a spoiler territory because it's so detached from the rest of it, you know? So I just wanted to get your guys' thoughts.
Yeah, I was a little thrown by it. It seemed, I'm not sure what he was going for there.
That's kind of where I'm at too.
But it was definitely effective though, because I was like really into it, and at first I thought when the guy kind of brought this girl up on stage, I was like, oh boy, and just the men's reactions were like really disturbing. I thought they were getting ready to just pounce on her and do God knows what because she's German and because she's a woman and all that stuff. It was really disturbing, and then it went to this really beautiful place with a song that was, I don't know what the intention was, and I don't know if there was supposed to be an intention. Like it was just sort of this happened. Like this these men are completely wrecked and disturbed by the war that they've been through, that they act this way, but then all of a sudden this little touch of beauty can bring their humanity back to them. I have no clue if that's what Stanley Kubrick was going for, but it was, like I said, I couldn't take my eyes off of it. It was very effective and kind of a beautiful scene.
I agree, and that I'm kind of falling in line with
it was a little out of place, I guess.
Sort
Maybe?
of.
I don't know.
Ben, did you have a read on it?
Yeah.
If I have a read from Roger Ebert on it.
Okay, nice.
Oh, nice. Okay.
Okay, so he says, if the singing of La Marseillaise in a bar in Casablanca was a call to patriotism, this scene is an argument against it. It creates a moment of quiet and tenderness in the daily horror these soldiers occupy, a world in which generals casually estimated that 55% of these very men might be killed in a stupid attack and found that acceptable. This song at the end of this movie makes us feel more forlorn. It is not a release, but a twist of Kubrick's emotional knife.
Interesting.
So
Interesting, yeah.
I mean, I was going to say those exact same things, but
No, yeah.
Right.
he did it first.
Yeah.
Nice. I think I read that Stanley Kubrick married that actress.
Yes.
Yeah.
And she was his wife for
Christian
Kubrick.
Kubrick, yeah.
Yeah.
Pretty
So-
cool.
Yeah.
So, ratings and great movies. Do we want to start with me and go clockwise to Tiny, since it was Tiny's pick and he can bring up the rear?
That's fine. Yeah.
Okay. Thumbs up, and would be on my great movies list, I think. In terms of the kind of human aspect of the war and like those human elements to it, I found it really really compelling and satisfying, and just, I mean, the meticulous and beautiful nature of Kubrick's like mind is just on display in a way that I frankly was not expecting it to be, just for my own biases and naivete going into it. So those are my thoughts. Thumbs up and on my list. Ben?
Cool.
Yeah, same. It's a really effective anti-war movie. It's really compelling courtroom drama. It was really informative about how court martials work. Another great Kubrick movie.
Nice.
Sweet.
And Tiny.
Definitely a thumbs up for sure.
Nice.
It wasn't quite what I expected, but I did end up liking it. I was just a touch disappointed because I was expecting more war, I guess, and more epic, sprawling war shots. But I was pleasantly surprised with what it ended up being. I think if I had a best war movies list, it would be on it for sure. But like great movies, like best movies of all time, I actually don't think I'd put it on there.
Okay,
and I would replace it with 1917.
Okay, I was just going to ask if the kind of clear parallels in terms of the filmmaking techniques between Paths of Glory and 1917, has that affected or do you foresee it affecting how you like read 1917, or how you feel about 1917 on like repeat viewings?
I mean, 1917 is obviously inspired by this, and Sam Mendes said as much. Sam Mendes saw the movie when he was a kid, and his tracking shots in the trenches in 1917 are basically a ripoff of this movie.
Right.
And I'm fine with that because Sam Mendes took the concept of a World War I movie with, tracking shots and really made it his own.
Yeah.
I mean, especially thinking of the scene in 1917 where the character crosses the canal, jumps into the waterfall, like that's amazing. And I think it outdoes some of the stuff in this movie. So, but yeah, I not trying to take anything away from Paths of Glory, but I would put 1917 in there. And I think if Roger Ebert had been alive when 1917 came out, he probably would have put it on his list.
Ooh, strong words.
Maybe not because it's so clearly he may have felt that this idea was already fairly represented in Paths of Glory on his list, but I'm throwing that out there.
Okay.
On Roger's behalf.
Right. When I asked you that, I was all I thought was like, I'm sorry, I'm kind of leading the witness. I'm sorry.
When did he pass away? Was it 15, 16?
13.
13? Was
13.
it that long ago?
Yeah. It was 2013.
Wow. Okay.
Yep. Yeah. Oh, that's all of us. Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we're going to round out the episode with a bit of potpourri. We can be really brief with it, but I believe we might take a break.
Yeah. I need to stand up for
Okay.
Please.
Yeah. So we will be back with a potpourri section. Okay. So we are back from a break, and obviously there's no lag with your listening, but Tiny reminded me so graciously when we were on a break that I forgot that basically there's a lot of good things about wearing headphones when you're recording a podcast, like monitoring your sound and everything. But one thing it doesn't do is help you remember that there's a completely other segment to do before we go to potpourri. So anyway, I'm sorry I'm such an ass, but although not really. So before we get into potpourri, we do need to. We have business to attend to. So next time on the Ebert's Great Movies list, we are going to do part 9. And this is the section of this episode of this special podcast project that we're doing where we each select the movie that we will select for our selection for part 9. So, Tiny, since you're new to the fold in terms of this project, do you want to hit us with your selection for part 9?
Yes, I have chosen Spike Lee's Do the Right Thing.
Oh, nice.
I've never seen.
Nice.
Yeah.
Which was one of your original selections for the first one.
Was
last time. Yeah, because you said either Paths of Glory or Do the Right Thing. And I think there was something like, I don't know, I had a stupid pun. Oh, I think you gave me a choice. And then I was like, well, I'll definitely... That definitely spikes my interest, and I'll do the right thing and choose Do the Right Thing. And then it wasn't like streaming at the time. So,
Gotcha.
yeah.
Okay.
Anyway, so Do the Right Thing. Nice.
Yep.
Awesome.
But I think it is streaming now, right?
I
Right.
checked.
Okay.
Yeah.
I think it's on Amazon and HBO Max.
Okay.
Excellent.
Good. Ben, what is your selection for the next one?
All right. So, oh man, I'm really torn between two. All right, I'm just gonna pick from Hayao Miyazaki, 2001,
Okay.
Spirited Away.
Sweet.
Oh, nice. Okay.
He's got that and My Neighbor Totoro on the list. So
Okay.
Nice.
So with Spirited Away, I know that there is an English language one and a Japanese, or
Yes.
like an English dub. Do you have a preference on which we watch?
I'm not a purist, so I'll allow whatever you choose.
Okay. I will say that I'll probably do subtitles, but
Me too.
the English dub, it has one of the actors that dubs in is Vic Mackey himself, Michael Chiklis. Yep.
I've seen that one. That's the one I've actually seen, but I've never
Same
seen
here.
a subtitled one. I might
Okay.
try to find
Nice.
that one.
And that's on HBO Max.
Correct.
Yes.
Sweet.
So I just realized that my first pick is not really available to stream anywhere. Let me check my other one because you know what? I'm just gonna do it. This one is streaming somewhere. This is my second pick. As mentioned, we are recording May 4th, 2021. So my choice is 1977's Star Wars Episode IV-A New Hope, which is streaming on Disney Plus.
Okay.
So that's
I think I've heard of that one.
Yeah, it's apparently pretty good. It's one of my favorites of that franchise. Not saying that much, but yeah, I think just in honor of May the 4th and everything, and just any opportunity I have to just shit can this franchise.
Should we have Mike on as a surprise guest?
Oh, that would actually be a lot of fun. We may figure something out there. We'll have to see. Or Fecus.
Fecus, yeah.
Yeah. Anyway, so we're going to wind down and we're going to do Potpourri, which is a section of the podcast where we talk about stuff we've watched, stuff we're looking forward to, just a way to kind of decompress and wind down after a long night of recording. One of us with headphones on, the others without.
Good God.
Majority rules.
So, anyway, so, how do we want to, Tiny, do you want to start and then we'll go counterclockwise and end with me?
Sure.
Okay.
I wanted to talk about a documentary series. I'm late to the party on this one. It came out during the pandemic and was pretty popular during the pandemic. Not Tiger King. It's called The Last Dance. It is about, yeah, it's about the Chicago Bulls in the 90s. If you are even remotely interested in sports, I highly recommend watching it. I just, for whatever reason, I kind of kicked the can down the road on this one and just kind of put it off for no particular reason. But I watched it over the last month or so. It is absolutely phenomenal. It is the best sports documentary I've ever seen.
Oh, wow.
The editing is just unbelievably good. It's so, because it's about the last season that all of the, Michael Jordan, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, all those guys, it's the last season they were all together. And it was about them winning an unprecedented second three-peat of championships. And no one thought they could do it. It was just it was an unprecedented thing in the sport of basketball. And it's about that. And then it jumps back and forth between that and how the team was built and how Michael Jordan became a giant star and just the past seasons building all to this. It was the way they put those two, they jumped back and forth in time was just some incredible editing. Nice. And it was a series of interviews with Michael Jordan specifically and Phil Jackson, Scottie Pippen, Dennis Rodman, all those guys did multiple interviews for this. It's, I think it was 8 episodes? I forget. 10 episodes. It was 10 episodes.
Oh, okay.
And it's just so good. And it touches so many things too, because the 90s was the height of NBA basketball.
Yeah.
I remember I was absolutely obsessed with Reggie Miller and the Indiana Pacers. And for the last 20 years, I could give a fuck. Like, like the NBA has just fallen off so much. But during the 90s, you couldn't, everybody was watching NBA.
Yeah.
It was so huge. And it's really interesting to see the footage from these basketball games because it's tens of thousands of white people going nuts at these fucking games. It blew me away. Like, because I remember we used to go to Pacers games at Market Square Arena.
Yeah.
And that's how it was. You couldn't hear yourself think. It was so loud in there. And it's just amazing how much the NBA fell off. But the nostalgia of the series just really blew me away. Because I remember when this was happening, I remember the Bulls making their big run, their 2-3-peat runs in the 90s. It was the biggest news in sports, and Michael Jordan is probably the biggest sports star of all time, right? It was crazy to think that we lived through that, and things are so different now. You can make a comparison with LeBron James, but it's not the same. It's just not the same, and there's no dynastic team in basketball that's going to win 3 championships, let alone 2 3-peat championships, and so just all of the obstacles that team had to overcome and the difficulties with being the biggest sports star of all time, with Michael Jordan and being a member of a team that's like that. It was so fascinating. I was really on the edge of my seat for like all 10 episodes, and I just cannot speak enough to the high quality of that documentary. It's, even if you're not really a basketball fan, you should watch it, because it's an incredible foray into sports. I've
heard really great things about it.
It's so good.
Did you say this at the beginning or anything? But is it produced by ESPN, or does it have any ties to ESPN?
I don't know.
Okay,
it might be an ESPN documentary.
Okay, I feel like because I feel like it was like originally before it hit Netflix. I think people were talking about it, and it was like on the ESPN Plus app or something like that.
Okay, that's possible.
Yeah, it
is on Netflix now.
Right,
yeah, that's how I watched it. Right,
and there was a really funny tweet by someone at this person has a lot of really great tweets, but at Keaton Patty back in May of last year, posted a screenshot of Michael Jordan, and he said, "Really loving the Last Dance documentary," and he added the closed captions of just this picture of Michael Jordan, and the caption says, "How is it legal for a guy to be named Michael B. Jordan? That's just my name, but with a B. I call 911 every day about this."
So dumb.
Yeah. And then the follow-up tweet was, "For people asking what episode he says this in, it's the one where he talks about basketball."
That's hilarious.
So funny. Ben, have you watched this at all?
I have not. And yeah, that is one that I need to get on.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
I recommend it. Even if you're not into sports, it's really interesting.
Nice.
Do they talk about Reggie Miller or the Pacers at all?
Yeah, because in their last championship season, they had the semifinals. They played
right.
Indiana Pacers,
okay,
and that was one of the best series of all time, probably in the NBA.
From what I could glean when it was all over social media and stuff, I kind of feel like I caught wind of it. When I caught wind of it, it seemed like it was depicting Michael Jordan in a less than favorable light in some aspects. Is that a thing?
Not necessarily.
Okay.
He was incredibly candid throughout it, and like I said, they probably did at least 4 or 5 different interviews with him for it.
Okay.
So he's in it a ton.
Nice.
But I mean, there is some stuff, I guess, some questionable actions that he took back in the day, and some stuff that I guess he could be criticized for. But they were upfront with him about all of it. And he spoke to all of it. So
nice.
there's really no stone left unturned. I'll put it that way.
Nice.
I don't think Michael Jordan was a hard ass. Like he was for sure a hard ass, and kind of a dick when it came to he was all business and just all professional. He wasn't out there to have fun. He was out there to win championships and stuff like that. And so he I think you can criticize him for that. Like if I played basketball, I don't think I would enjoy being on a team with him. But the guy has 6 fucking rings, and no one else has ever done that.
Yeah,
he's an epic competitor, and you just can't touch him when it comes to that. So if that's the kind of personality that I think a person has to have in order to achieve something like that. And so you can criticize him for it, but he's one of the most successful sports athletes of all time. So
that makes sense.
Yeah.
This is so dumb. I'm so sorry. But I mean, I totally get that. It would be like being on a podcast and having like this legend of podcasting bitch about headphones for 2 hours.
God. Yeah.
Ben, what's your potpourri?
Well, real quick, have either of you guys seen the series OJ Made in America?
No, but that I've wanted to, but I mean, it's like 6 hours or something like that. Oh, at least,
yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, I watched that one.
Okay.
Okay.
Also very good.
How does it compare to this?
I think this is a little better. In my opinion, the editing is just, the filmmaking is so clever and so well done. Just amazing. But OJ Made in America is also really good.
Yeah.
Brief aside, and I don't like to promote other podcasts and this podcast does not need it because they're huge, but Comedy Bang Bang in 2019, there is an episode where I can't remember who the improviser was, but he played a character version of O.J. Simpson.
Oh yeah,
it's so funny.
Carl Tart,
yes,
yeah. And
the whole premise was that like they went into it with he was gonna play O.J. Simpson, and the only thing was that Scott Aukerman, who hosts the show and is like the kind of the straight man of each episode, the only kind of parameter he had was not to, like, he wasn't to know anything about the murder. So it turns into just this.
So they dance around it the whole time.
So funny. And then because the real O.J. Simpson did this on Twitter and did this on like a couple of his Twitter videos or whatever, like Carl Tart kept injecting into it. Like anytime he finished talking to someone, he's like, all right, you take care now. It's just like it killed me each time. Like I found it really funny.
Nice.
But yeah. Anyway, OJ Made in America. I'll have to check it out. Also, The Last Dance.
Yep.
Yeah. Ben, Potpourri.
Okay. So this isn't really something that I have watched super recently, but just something that I know I haven't talked about on the podcast yet. But the anthology series movies, who knows anymore? Small Axe. From Steve McQueen, director of 12 Years a Slave and Widows. His kind of anthology series from Amazon that came out last year. And it's 5 movies.
There's so much like discussion about that. Yeah.
But 5 films basically of that all kind of center around different aspects of the West Indian community in London, and it spans from like the 60s to the 70s and parts of the 80s, I think, and just different aspects of the racism that they experienced. There's the first one is called Mangrove, and it's a courtroom drama. It's got Letitia Wright and Sean Parks, who give just incredible performances. Tiny, I don't know why, but I feel like you would enjoy this series. Really, all of them.
Yeah, I pretty much guarantee it.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of his anyways.
Yeah. But Lover's Rock is one that a lot of critics and people have kind of latched onto. And yeah, I think I would say it's the best of the bunch. It's the second one, I guess, technically. You can watch any of them in any order, really. But I think the order that they were released in works pretty well. But Lover's Rock is just a really effective, incredible piece of storytelling and filmmaking that just works so well together. It's centered around like a house party in the 70s or 80s or something. I don't know. There's a lot of like funk music and R&B. So it's all music, and there's just very little dialogue, and what dialogue there is, it doesn't really matter a whole lot, but it's just such an incredible piece of just mood filmmaking and just effective characterization. I was just blown away by it, and I need to watch it again. But really, like I said, just any of these are just great movies to watch altogether. John Boyega is in one of them.
Yes.
He's a police officer who experiences racism from the other police officers. Just a really solid anthology series all around.
Nice.
Nice. And that's on Amazon Prime.
Yes.
I still haven't watched any of them.
The Mangrove episode is like 2 hours long, and then the rest of them are only like 70-ish minutes long. So,
okay.
Lover's Rock, I think, is just barely over an hour. So it's pretty easy to digest.
I thought they were like shorts. I didn't realize that.
No. Okay. That's where some of the confusion comes in, because a lot of like critics groups and people like I know that there was like at least one critics group somewhere on the planet that was like they named their movie of the year just Small Axe.
Yeah.
And like it's like that's more like it's presented on Amazon Prime as a TV series, but then the episodes are feature length, and I don't know. It's a mess. It's a mess. Well, that's cool. Yeah. And like I said, that's on Amazon Prime. And do you guys mind if I round us out with Potpourri? Okay. So something that I forgot to mention at the top of the episode, currently right now, between April 29th and, I don't know when they're running to, but Indy Film Fest is occurring right now with a mix of virtual screenings, and Tibbs drive-in screenings. And I'll just say I am a juror on the American Spectrum category. So I'm kind of diving in and watching a lot of stuff. So the one thing that I've watched is not on the I don't think it's on the American Spectrum category, but it's a documentary called Welcome to Monterey. And I want to highlight this because I found it really charming. It's a documentary by a filmmaker named Lauren Z. Ray, who grew up in Logansport, Indiana, and then moved to New York and became an actress, I think. And the documentary, I'll just read a plot summary, is as their population dwindles, their businesses are all about gone. This town in rural Monterey, Indiana, fights for its life. An in-depth look into small-town life, Welcome to Monterey follows the town's journey to their 20th annual Labor Day Festival, capturing the people's passions and doubt about whether this town has a future in today's world. And I am someone who has always been kind of enamored and kind of romanticized the kind of small-town life, like small-town American life. And this was such an interesting documentary in the way that it depicts its subjects, the town of Monterey, Indiana, which is just like the population is 218 people. And it goes through a lot of the history, but it does so in a way that isn't it isn't like cumbersome, or it isn't like a history lesson or anything, because the historical aspects of it, like things like a gas station burning down and the closing of a business and the opening of a business, the business changing hands and stuff, all of these different aspects are told from the talking heads of the citizens of the town. And what you kind of come away from it with is this, what feels like it feels like an agendaless depiction, just like this I guess love letter and just kind of depiction of this town and the lives within it. And it's really well put together, and it has a lot of interesting tidbits. And if you're someone who is interested in that, and like I wouldn't even really say rural like America, but like the lesser depicted small town aspects of Americana and everything, definitely seek out this documentary. It's currently playing at Indy Film Fest. You can check it out virtually. I don't know if it's region locked to Indiana or not, but check it out, indyfilmfest.org, and their website for this documentary is welcometomonterey.com. And I enjoyed it. So yeah, check that out. Now I'll be reporting back with some more Indy Film Fest stuff as the film festival progresses.
It runs through May 19th.
May 19th. Thank you. Yes.
To piggyback off of your Potpourri, I checked out a block of shorts that Indie Film Fest offers. The
Tiny and I are wearing shorts.
I think it's called, the block is called Seeing the Humor in It. Mm-hmm. And it's got like 5 or 6 offerings, maybe more than that. 5 or 6. But one of the ones that drew me to it is one that's called David, and it stars William Jackson Harper and Will Ferrell.
Oh, okay.
And it was hilarious. I will say that much.
Nice.
It kind of plays out kind of like an extended SNL skit, and it's really funny. So if anybody out there is looking for a block of shorts to check that one out.
Cool.
Nice. What was that one called again?
Seeing the humor in it.
Okay.
Or the short film.
Yeah, the
It's
short
just
film.
called David.
Okay. Nice.
It's like 13 minutes long.
Sweet. All right. Awesome. Well, that'll do it for this episode of Obsessive Viewer. I almost forgot the title of the podcast. Join us next time. I don't know when we're actually going to do the next Ebert Great Movies List review project, but join us for when we're going to be talking about Star Wars and
Do the Right Thing.
Do the Right Thing and
Spirited Away.
Spirited Away. Yes. Literally just named those like 15 minutes ago. Okay, so yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this episode, and that'll do it for this episode. And final thing, Ben, your Happy Madison stuff still going up on Midwest Film Journal?
Sure is.
Yeah, where are you at now on that?
Today, the one that just posted is The Do-Over.
Oh, yeah.
The Spade and David Spade and Adam Sandler movie.
So you're deep in the Netflix era of Sandler.
Last week was the first one, The Ridiculous Six. And then, yeah, it's all Netflix from here on out.
Nice. Awesome.
Next week is Sandy Wexler.
Oh, yeah.
Which is kind of good.
Oh, nice.
Yeah.
All right, we'll check that out.
Which is why we should bring back Summer of Sandler.
Right. Oh, we'll see. All right, we'll check that out. A link in the show notes and everything. And that'll do it for this episode of Obsessive Viewer. And I need to press this button. So that'll do it. Thank you guys so much for listening. And we'll see you next time.
Thanks.
And now, here's a short clip from our Patreon-exclusive RSS feed. To hear the full clip and more exclusive Patreon content, go to patreon.com/obsessiveviewer and become a patron at the minimum rate of $1 per month. Thank you and enjoy. But love this music. It is maybe definitely absolutely like my favorite piece of film music in existence. Like, this is my favorite piece of movie music, this and the version of it that's played at the end of the movie. It is on the same level to me as my favorite piece of TV music, which is Michael Giacchino's Parallelogram from the series finale of Lost. They're both just incredible. So, yeah.
The Obsessive Viewer podcast is edited and produced by Matt Hurt and presented by ObsessiveViewer.com. For a full archive of our episodes, go to ObsessiveViewer.com/OV archive. You can also like our Facebook page and join the OV Facebook group at Facebook.com/TheObsessiveViewer. And follow us on Twitter at ObsessiveViewer and at ObsessiveTiny. And follow our recurring co-hosts at I am Mike White, that's me, at R.A. Feckus, and at Burger_Lurker. If you enjoy the show, please take a couple minutes to leave us a rating and a quick review on Apple Podcasts. This is the easiest way to support what we do, and all it costs is a little bit of your time. If you'd like to donate to the podcast, you can make a PayPal donation at obsessiveviewer.com/donate, or support us on Patreon for recurring donations and access to commentary tracks and B-roll audio recorded exclusively for patrons at patreon.com/obsessiveviewer. Every donation goes toward paying the fees to keep the podcast running and is greatly appreciated. For official Obsessive Viewer merch, including shirts, mugs, phone cases, and more, visit our TeePublic store. You can find a link to the store in the show notes of this episode and at obsessiveviewer.com/donate. Or you can simply search for Obsessive Viewer at teepublic.com, T-E-E, public.com. For information about our annual live event showcasing short horror films from local filmmakers, check out shocktoberInIrvington.com. And for an archive of all our events, as well as news about potential future events, head over to obsessiveviewer.com/live. For more podcast content, you can find Anthology, Matt's solo podcast covering The Twilight Zone, and other classic and contemporary science fiction anthology TV shows at anthologypod.com and on Twitter at OVAnthologyPod. You can also find Tower Junkies, a podcast where Matt and Tiny share their love of all things Stephen King and his magnum opus, the Dark Tower series, at towerjunkiespod.com and at towerjunkiespod on Twitter. And finally, check out The Secular Perspective, Tiny's side project podcast, which tackles current events and life's big questions from the perspective of secular hosts Chad and Amanda at thesecularperspective.com. The theme music for The Obsessive Viewer comes courtesy of the band Loudlike from their EP Mistakes We Must Make. Additional bumper music is provided courtesy of As Good As It Gets, which can be found at facebook.com/asgoodasitgetsband. Thank you so much for listening, and we'll see you next time.
Kitty!